With Darren, Dimples, and the Music Man, me. Hey, Dimps.
Hey, Mr. Music Man, how
What's
you
up,
doing
buddy?
this evening?
What's going on?
How are you?
Well, good. What's up? Two ladies. This is a true story. These two ladies at a network meeting came over to me, and he said, "Your show was really good, but we missed Dimple."
I'm
this
absolutely convinced. I'm absolutely convinced that
telling
you
you.
got some kind of brain damage when you had that thing last year.
I'm telling you that, and he called, and
It's not classy, but classy.
Seeing interviews by Darren and the Music Man. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Siafe and Norman Wasserman.
let's do this.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Pal Hour with Darren and the Music Man. I am your host, the Music Man, and the good-looking gentleman sitting next to me is Darren Siafe. Good evening, Darren.
Good evening, Music Man. How are you this
I
evening?
am hot.
You're hot. How
I am
come?
hot
It's
because it
nice.
is hot
Let me put
outside.
down a little bit because you bought these beautiful shirts for us.
Yeah, we did.
Right? I don't think they're as nice
Air
as
Force.
the American flag ones that we had 2 years ago.
Oh, please.
But how was your 4th of July? How did you enjoy the weekend?
It was good. Got to see the grandkids and played with the puppies. Driving me absolutely nuts. He's getting up. She's getting up now at 1.
Now, how did the puppy do with the fireworks?
No problem.
Really?
Yeah, some of the dogs in the neighborhood were going out of their minds, and
Right.
she was just dealing with it,
So that's
You know,
good.
walking along, doing her thing, strutting her stuff, and she
Doing
was
her
fine.
things.
How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. I went to we went to parties on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, obviously, with all the rain, we went out east and we were just under the clouds until probably about 7 or 8 o'clock.
Speaking of which, tonight around 7, 8 o'clock, we're supposed to get a storm right where we happen to be located.
Right.
And I know for a fact because our guest just told us that it is.
Speaking of which, tonight around 7, 8 o'clock.
Well,
Okay.
wow,
It's pouring in Manhattan. So
is it pouring in Manhattan? So it's coming this way.
it's heading this way.
It's heading this way. So
I
we're
want to
gonna get some
dedicate
sun.
this show to a friend of ours. I don't know if you
Okay.
got a message
No.
or not, but
About
Brittany Anderson was in the hospital again.
Brittany's in the hospital? Oh,
And
I'm
I
so
think she
sorry.
just came out. She's has been in very serious condition. Her mom sent me a message today asking for us to, send some prayers out to her. And
Always, Brittany.
in the
Our
state
prayers-
of Washington.
Our prayers are with you, Brittany.
We got
get
you,
better
babe.
soon.
I hope you're all right.
We love you. We love you. Oh, I can hear the thunder
Here's the thunder.
outside. I can
All
hear
right.
the
I
thunder
hope
outside
the
now.
doctor can handle all of this. Hope we don't get kicked
Yeah.
off the air.
So it's going to be a very interesting show.
Yeah, I can probably use some of his service.
I think so.
As a matter of
I
fact,
think
especially
so.
since you told me that my brain was
Well,
clogged.
I think Doc he's got something real.
But he's a
seriously
special kind of doctor. So we're
He's-
going to introduce Dr. Christopher Trahan, who is an OMD, who specializes in holistic integrative medicine. Good evening, doctor.
Hello, good to see you.
Good
Nice to see you
Doc.
too.
How are you this evening?
Welcome.
Great. I am somewhat known for bringing in thunder and lightning, so here we are.
Well, you're doing a
There
good
we
job.
go. There we go. So, Doc, tell us about what you do, what your company's all about, what the Olympus Center for Holistic Integrative Medicine, correct?
Correct.
What is that all about?
So it's a private medical practice. So you go to your doctor, right? Your MD. I also have a private medical practice. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine. I have a doctorate degree and also my licensure where I used to live in New Mexico. We are called Doctors of Oriental Medicine. In New York, I am licensed as an acupuncturist. Some acupuncturists also have advanced training in herbal medicine, which I do. So I've been in practice for 40 years. I've got an office in Manhattan, and I also specialize in telemedicine. So most of the patients that come to my office are getting acupuncture, and just about everybody's getting herbal medicine. And then I work with nutrition. I work with different kinds of massage techniques, physiotherapies, and whatnot. And I also educate my patients a lot about diet and nutrition. I prescribe not a whole lot of vitamin type things, but a few things like that, like vitamin D and fish oil, things like that. But it's really, the foundation typically is based on herbal medicine, and that's actually headed by Chinese herbal medicine. I have an herbal pharmacy of over 300 herbs of Chinese and Western herbs.
Okay, so before you get through everything within the first 5 minutes, we're going to slow you down a little bit, Doc. When you first, how did you get interested in herbal medicine and acupuncture and this type of treatment?
Go back to the beginning.
Go back to the
Sure.
beginning.
These things are a bit more mainstream now. Back in the day, again, going back more than 40 years ago, I was at school at the University of Michigan. I majored in philosophy. I was studying things like psychology and literature and medical anthropology. And I also had seasonal allergies. I had hay fever. I had never heard of acupuncture. Well, I maybe heard of acupuncture, but, was not familiar at all. I was not interested in trying to go to medical school. I was going to maybe go to law school or become a professor of some liberal arts. But I had hay fever. And so there was a guy giving a lecture, I think it was maybe my sophomore year in college, and I went to hear him talk, and he talked about nutrition, herbal medicine. And then I kind of kept my eyes peeled. I checked out a couple things. And then my senior year, I took a graduate course in medical anthropology. That professor actually is now kind of a rock star professor at Columbia. He's been written up in the New York Times. His name is Dr. Mick Tausig. He's an MD from Australia, but he's a professor of medical anthropology. And I went to a lecture by this healer who was an herbal medicine healer. He was a traveling healer. He had natural healing school in New Mexico, but he was like a traveling healer. And he was going to have a month-long herbal training out in New Hampshire. He had friends who had an herb farm, and he had followers from all over the country. And I saw him, and I said, you know what? I'm finishing college. I'm not really quite sure that I want to go to law school. Let me go check this out. And so between that and continuing to explore my search to get my hay fever better, which, it's not like a terrible disease, but it's annoying, a few months a year. And so I was on my way. I had a practical motivation, and also I had a strong academic background. I had studied Chinese philosophy, so I heard of things like yin and yang, and I'd spent extra time in the library reading a very famous compendium by a British sinologist, which is a Chinese specialist. And so I had read about yin and yang and the 5 elements and all this stuff, which sounded like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, like fictional mythology or something. But then as it comes to pass, those things have very concrete applications in the really a different kind of scientific language of Chinese medicine.
Let me ask you a question. When did acupuncture become prevalent in the United States? What year was it?
So Nixon got acupuncture on the map. He went to China. I don't know if he was elected, I think in 68. I think it was his first term. He was pursuing détente with China. It was a big deal. And he went to China, and his speechwriter, William Safire, who later was a big op-ed writer in the New York Times, had an appendectomy in China. And he was experiencing spasming of his abdominal muscles afterwards, and they did acupuncture on him, and it relieved him. And he wrote this editorial going like, "Hey, I had acupuncture."
What year was that?
That would have been like 72 or something, because Nixon was out by 74. He got in 68. I don't know the exact year that he went to China.
So here's the key point of why I was asking that question. It got started here, prevalent around 1972, 73, whatever it may be. We're now in 2021. Has acupuncture changed? Have people learned more about the field of acupuncture, or is it basically the same thing?
Oh no, it's absolutely, it's quite mainstream. Lots of medical doctors are involved in it. Not most, but many are. There's lots and lots of scientific research now that was not around back then. We have a saying, well, this was 20 years ago. We used to say 20 years ago we knew that acupuncture didn't work. Now we know that it does work. Acupuncture is now an established profession, just like physical therapists, chiropractors, MDs, osteopaths, dentists. We've taken our spot. We're, not quite mainstream like an MD or something like that, but there's many medical schools teaching acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. It got really big in California, which is part of the later part of my story. Right. And so it's quite happening.
Okay, so Doc, you finished college. You started doing some research on this stuff. And from what I understand now, your story kind of brought you to San Francisco.
So before that, met up with my then girlfriend right at the end of college, and she and I both went and trained for a month in herbal medicine. Then we moved to Boston, to Cambridge, Mass. And I still wasn't interested in acupuncture. I went to the acupuncture school and sat in on a lecture. It's like, okay. But I did receive an acupuncture treatment for my allergies during that herb course, that month-long herb course, and it helped my allergies. So I had a very concrete sense, like, okay, this is something real. And also my knowledge of ancient Chinese culture, I'm going like, these guys aren't a bunch of superstitious people. There's wisdom there. So in Boston, I'll do a little show and tell. The star faculty member was a guy named Ted Kapchuk, and he ended up writing a book called The Web That Has No Weaver. He's now a professor at Harvard. So he was one of the first guys. I'm the second wave of acupuncture. There are people that were maybe 8 years older than I am. They went to medical school in Macau, where they went to Chinese medical school. Macau is like Hong Kong. It's Chinese culture, but the Portuguese were there. You couldn't go to China, but there were a few people that were, intrigued, and they went to medical school. So I was in Boston, and then we decided to go to the Bay Area. So then I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I met up with people. And I knew that acupuncture was a possible path. And I met these people who were training people specifically to go to Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka was friendly with China, even though they're a Western culture in the sense that India and Sri Lanka are from the British Empire. They speak English a lot. They're very friendly with the West, but they were neutral. So there was a doctor there that went and learned acupuncture in China, and he was teaching a medical course that mainly European doctors would go to. It'd be like a 6-week internship, but it was open to anyone. Right. And so we ended up studying in the Bay Area in Berkeley, California for the summer. And then in the fall of '80, went to Sri Lanka to do this course, which was kind of a combination of kind of like Peace Corps and physicians.
Hold on one second, because we're running through all your notes there on a jet plane. So if people even wanted to call, they're not going to be able to call because we're going to be done in 5 minutes.
Right, yeah. So wait, let's slow down just a hair here, Doc, right?
Go ahead.
Okay, if and this is my thing, is there's a ton of information that you've given already. If anybody is already interested in acupuncture, not only that, the holistic medicine piece, and that's really where I want to get into.
Right.
But if they wanted to reach out to you and get more information, how could they do that?
So my website is olympuscenter.com, and my email is posted there, drctron@olympus-center.com. For the email, you need the hyphen. But if you just go to the website, there's places where you can message me. And then the phone number is down below, 212-337-0511.
All right.
Okay. Now you mentioned we're talking about acupuncture and so on. Are there different types of acupuncture, or is it just a generic name? Are there subcategories under acupuncture?
There are subcategories. So it was originated in China. It was brought into Korea and Japan. We all use the same basic science, where there are acupuncture points, and there are what are called meridians, with their pathways of energy, which basically correlate with the nerves. If you look at a map of acupuncture meridians, it's kind of like looking at a map of the nervous system. And in fact, the way acupuncture works is very much through the nerves. Okay, it doesn't just do that; it affects brain chemistry and whatnot. So there's shades of difference, certainly, and not every acupuncturist is working exactly the same. But foundationally, it's all working off from the same system.
What's your specialty in acupuncture? General acupuncture?
Well, because I do herbal medicine and my Western integrative medicine, I do a lot of internal medicine, which means almost any disease that we think of in the West, unless it's orthopedic or neurological or maybe obstetrical, is internal medicine, right? Affecting the internal organs. And so I spend a lot of my time treating patients with internal medicine issues, but also acupuncture itself is very good for orthopedics, for pain relief, neurological problems. It's also been used a lot for addictions. It's used for fertility, and all those things are amped up by my other modalities.
Okay. So I want to go back a little bit. You talked about initially having really bad hay fever for yourself. Right. And that's really what got you interested, more interested in doing this than anything else initially, right? So you said while you were taking this herbal course, you had acupuncture, which helped your hay fever.
Right.
Right. So it didn't completely get rid of it, but
Correct.
It helped. So you knew, okay, this works.
Right.
This actually works. You experienced it. It wasn't something that somebody told you when you just went, okay, yeah, based on what you're telling me, it works, and okay, I'll buy into it.
Correct.
You actually experienced it. Now, as you were going through and the herbal medicine piece of it, let's talk about that a little bit. What exactly is herbal medicine as compared to the normal medicine we would get if we went to our normal family practitioner?
Well, our so-called normal medicine, many of those medicines are even today made from herbs, and many of them are synthetic versions of herbs. I don't know what the percentage is anymore. Of course, the pharmaceutical industry is creating drugs all along the way, but herbal medicine is the original medicine of human beings. And so it's using plants, right? So, we eat plants for vegetables, right? So those are foods. Some herbs are foods. Some are more specifically medicinal substances. Some herbs, like ginseng, are kind of like vitamin type superpowered herbs that give us various ways of strengthening. And then some herbs have like antiviral effects or antibacterial effects that can fight specific kinds of even infectious diseases. So it's using plants as medicine. And again, it ranges from like the spices that we use. That's actually a branch of herbal medicine. Things like dill, parsley, all these things that cross over from merely culinary. They also have specific digestive benefits. Like what bitters are, like Angostura bitters that you might know from certain cocktails.
Oh, wait, let me ask you. So for hay fever, for example.
Yeah.
All right. If I came to you and I had very bad hay fever and I just couldn't get rid of it, tell me what you would prescribe for me to use.
Well, how do you test, first of all? You have to know what kind of allergies we do have.
Well, I don't need to test what kind of allergies you have. If, like for me, I was having my symptoms in the spring when the trees are putting out their pollen. So it sometimes matters what you're allergic to, but when it comes to pollen seasonal allergies, we kind of know what's going on. And the point is that I'm going to treat your immune system to make your immune system more resilient and be less allergic. So that's kind of a big project. That's not I might be able to get, like I got temporary relief from one treatment. So I can maybe help somebody get temporary relief, but to really help them intrinsically become less allergic, that's taking herbs and being on kind of like an herbal nutritional program over quite a length of time. Certainly
Is everybody different? I mean, everybody's body is different and reacts differently to different things. Is like, for example, if Norm came in and he had hay fever and I came in and I had hay fever, how do you know what to prescribe to each of us?
So in medicine, in Western medicine and in Eastern medicine, natural medicine, we have what we call differential diagnosis. So there are differences, although there's also great similarities. So there's certain herbs that will be used over and over with everybody with allergies, not necessarily identical. Like in Chinese medicine, we give people formulas. In Western herbs, it's more like individual herbs or a few, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in Chinese medicine, there's formulas, and it's very, very sophisticated. Where we have formulas that go back thousands of years. The original medical books were written 2,000 years ago, and so we're able to differentiate. But you two might have fairly similar formulas, but probably not identical.
Okay. So let's go back to it. Let's talk specifically hay fever at this particular time. Is it because you see these things with, vegetarians and vegans and holistic medicine, you think, okay, I got to go to this special place and get all these special herbs that I wouldn't normally have, and I got to cook them a special way, or I got to mix them a special way. How does that work? If I have bad hay fever, what are you telling me I should take? And, and like, I think what you just said before, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this isn't something that I'm going to take a pill and it's going to go away. This is something where it's a lifestyle change and I have to change my body. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So you would prescribe a different way of me living by taking these additional herbs and nutrients to change my physiology.
Right, but it might be as simple as if you were taking a few vitamin pills twice a day. Mm-hmm. Because I have my way of delivering herbal medicine that's very, very easy for the patient to take, where they can get a strong dose of herbal medicine where it's safe, it's non-toxic, but it's also effective.
Okay, so you said before that a lot of of herbs that you work with, well, some of them are like mainstay herbs, kind of like penicillin is with regular medicine, right? They throw penicillin on everything. to see how it works. What is the most common herb that you use for any diagnosis?
Is there one?
Or is there?
No, it's way more complicated than that.
Right.
In Western medicine, like say for instance with blood pressure, you have I think maybe 4 main categories of drugs, and there's numerous drugs, but it's pretty limited. It's broad in that they have quite different physiological effects. But when a patient comes to me, again, I have over 300 herbs in my pharmacy. I have 100 formulas, and so it's very sophisticated how I figure out what to do. Although at the same time, 10 people coming in with asthma, for instance, are going to get probably somewhat similar formulas, but it depends on various presentations of their particular symptoms.
Question. I'm going to mention an herb, or I guess it's a combination of herbs. Turmeric. Now, turmeric, I believe, has different herbs in each different type of turmeric. My wife has bought some over the counter. She doesn't get much of any relief. As crazy as it may seem, there's a gentleman who works a farmer's market who kind of put together, I don't know his background, I don't know anything about him, but he happens to package this particular turmeric, and it works miracles on her. I should have brought a sample with me. I completely forgot. What's the difference with turmeric? What is turmeric?
Okay, first of all, turmeric is one plant. It's an herb. It's one plant. The Latin name for it is curcumin. There's a substance in there which is called curcuminoids, and turmeric got kind of more strongly elevated in the pantheon of what's important in the herbal medicine kingdom in like the last 20 years. Okay, it's always been around. It's in curry powder, so it's an edible herb, but also it's a medicine. But you're not going to get the benefit just from taking like the tea alone necessarily. So for instance, this is a freeze-dried concentrate of turmeric powder. Every capsule in here was made out of 5 capsules or so of raw turmeric. Okay, so I take this. I also take turmeric in a tincture form, which is a liquid extract where you soak it basically in some percentage of alcohol and water. But so there's different products on the market, and what's happened is because of the active ingredient curcuminoid was discovered, there's different products that emphasize that. But on the other hand, there's a traditional herbal medicine where we stay with the whole plant because there's lots of constituents in these plants that we don't really know about. And so we believe, those of my philosophy, it's better to use the whole plant itself. But so turmeric is a fantastic for the immune system. It's not so much going to be symptomatic for allergies. I don't know what your wife's taking it for. It's related to ginger.
Her back and leg pain.
Yeah, it's anti-inflammatory. It's antioxidant. Yeah. It's a great herb. It's definitely one of the main herbs. I take it every day. And
I know she takes a capsule or 2.
Right, so she might be just taking the ground up, or she might be taking a concentrate. I don't know. The thing with herbal medicine, it's great if she found something that works, is you've got to make sure you get good quality, because it's like anything else, like restaurants or wine. It's like There's cheaper stuff out there and there's better stuff out there. One of my specialties is, because the way I was trained in Western herbs out in New Mexico, I'm very familiar with the industry and the different companies. And so I know where to get and use the very best quality of all these things. Like echinacea is another herb. There's lots of them.
So before we get to echinacea, because I want to ask you about that also, how do we know what's good and what's not? Like he said, his wife bought some pills over the counter that really didn't work, but she found somebody at a farmer's market that, I guess, grinds it up or whatever, and it works well.
And I think it's a mixture of turmeric and a couple of other things. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it may be. Well, that's again where you want to have a knowledge of the industry, because actually in the supplement industry, it's become so big. I mean, the herb industry now is just really, really huge. But that also means that people are cranking out some products that obviously are not as good as others. So that's where people come to me. I'm the doctor and I'm prescribing, and I know what the best sources are.
Okay, so you actually, turmeric, now echinacea, what exactly does echinacea do?
Echinacea is an herb. It stimulates the immune system, so it can be used for acute viral and bacterial infections. It was actually used originally to treat the toxins of snake bites. But so it's a good herb. You can sometimes use it. Like sometimes people have a viral illness and they go to the doctor and the doctor just doesn't have anything for virus. So they go, oh, well, let's just give you penicillin or something like that, which is really not a great thing because there's side effects from it. So echinacea is one of these herbs that you might refer to as antiviral as well. It's not exactly antibacterial, but it stimulates the immune system. So whether it's a virus or a bacteria or even an allergy, it can help.
So is that something you would take every day, or is that something
that would be more for an acute kind of thing? Turmeric could be something you'd more take every day. So what I do with my system of herbal medicine is I give you a formula. So, you might think of it like as a combination of vitamin pills or something, but it's a formula of herbs. It's usually in a concentrated powder, granules. Again, freeze concentrated, so you don't have to take very much of it. It's like it took this much to make this much, okay? And you take your herbal formula as your ongoing thing, and then say if we get an acute cold, well, then we have different herbs like echinacea and other Chinese herbs as well to take acutely.
Okay, so everybody is different, as you said. You created, based on your experience and your years of doing this, different formulas for different things. So if somebody wanted to actually contact you and buy some of your formulas, how can they do that?
They make an appointment to see me as a physician. I'm not in the business of selling herbs retail. I'm a physician and I've got my practice. I mean, if you know what you want, like you call me up, Norman, and you say, hey, I want to get some of your turmeric. Well, I will, work with you and help you with that. But I'm not like a store just selling herbs. I'm prescribing medicines and I have my own herbal pharmacy because otherwise it's too difficult for the patients to benefit to, put it together.
Okay. So if they want to make an appointment, how can they do that?
So my website, olympuscenter.com, and my email is drctron. That's my first initial, Dr. Ctron at olympus-center.com, or you can find the email, the way to contact me on the website. And then my phone number, 212-337-0511.
So, Doc, let me ask you a question. There's a lot of people that are in the city that are watching our show tonight, and there are people in New Jersey. There are people in Washington. By the way, a shout out to Brittany and her mom who are all watching.
Yes.
If they can't get into the city, they can't deal with you? Is that?
No, well, I'm glad you asked because telemedicine is a major part of my practice. It always has been a part of it, but especially then when the pandemic hit. So I expanded it. And so you don't get acupuncture in telemedicine. However, you get herbal medicine and nutrition. And sometimes another thing I do is called classical homeopathy. But so for most people, even if they come for acupuncture, I mean, if you got back pain or something, the acupuncture is the main thing. But for a lot of problems that people come to me, the acupuncture and the herbs are both important. But for the long run, not everybody needs to keep getting acupuncture all the time. But I believe, like, I'm taking herbs every day for the rest of my life. And so, and that's not to deal with a disease. It's to maintain, help my body detoxify, to strengthen my body. I take different kinds of ginseng and whatnot. But so, yeah, I do a telemedicine practice where I can Zoom or FaceTime with the patients, and I'm doing quite a bit of that. And then what I do is I custom blend the herbs and I direct ship them to the patient, and it works out, and people are really happy with it.
Now, you don't accept insurance, I would imagine, correct?
Well, as with acupuncture, sometimes insurance comes into play. My practice.
Well, what about the other side? What about the?
No, not herbal medicine. No.
Okay.
That's okay. But the thing is, herbal medicine is a very economic and effective way to go. I mean, people might think, well, my insurance is going to pay for this pharmaceutical, so I'm just going to stay with pharmaceuticals. But if you look in your little crystal ball, that's probably not in your best interest. Not that pharmaceuticals are bad, just especially for chronic treatment, they tend not to be good enough.
Well, and the thing is, too, from my own personal experience, which when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about, I have type 2 diabetes, right? And I can tell you this, from medicines that they originally put me on, it then affected kidneys and some other things where I just had to get off them because they were just causing too many. They were causing more problems than they were solving.
Yep.
And that seems to be, especially today when you watch TV and you see an ad for a drug.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
Like
and the next
most of
half.
the commercial is all the things that could go wrong and not necessarily the things that are going to go right for you by taking this drug. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Doc, we're going to talk about things like my type 2 diabetes.
And mine too, because I have the same thing.
And yeah, he's got some other illnesses too. The doctor, you can help if you got some mental stuff that we can work with him.
Absolutely.
But we'll be right back right after these messages.
Take to the highway, won't you lend me your name? Your way and my way seem to be one and the same. How sweet it is to be loved by you. There you were, needed someone to understand my ups and downs. There you were, with sweet love and devotion, deeply touching my emotions. I won't stop. Thank you, baby. I just won't stop. And thank you, baby. Yes, I do.
Coming on the Business Power Hour gives you something that you don't normally get with your typical advertising on the internet.
Or in the newspaper.
Right?
None of that stuff.
You get thousands of viewers who see the show every week, not only locally, but nationally and internationally.
For a very nominal fee. Actually, we did it and we broke it down. It will actually cost you 0.75 cents per view that you get. That's it. All right, so if you're interested in being a guest on the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man, please give me a call at 631-698-9696 or email me at norman@friendentusa.com or call Darren at...
You can call me at 844-987-CBMS. That was 844-987-CBMS, or email me at Darren@bphdmm.com.
I think I'm going to get in touch with you also.
Yeah?
I am, to make sure that you get here on time.
Oh, okay.
Next time.
Yeah.
All right?
It's the first time ever I've been late. Pachira aquata, also known as the money tree, is a tree that flourishes in the tropical rainforest. Unlike other trees, it depends on 5 separate trunks to prosper, each one bringing its own share of water and nutrients to the leaves. Like the money tree, your business has many different trunks that need your attention. Sales, marketing, finance, operations, and culture. Fail to cultivate any one of these and the whole tree collapses. I understand this better than anyone else, which is why I developed My Prosperity Tree, a program designed to address all of these areas, not just one or two. We help you identify who you are as a company, define your direction, and assist with developing the systems that will enable you to scale your business the most efficient and effective way, allowing your company to bloom into your own prosperity tree. So plant your tree today by visiting myprosperitytree.com or call us at 844-987-CBMS. That's 844-987-2267.
All right.
Okay, you said all right, so you might as well finish it.
And we're back here in the Business Power Hour, Darren and the Music Man. We're here with Dr. Trahan, who is an acupuncturist and a holistic medical doctor. And Gwen, yes, you and Brittany can ask any question you want.
Just write them in.
Just write them in. Anybody who's got any questions, just write them in. If you want to call in and ask your questions, it's 631-615-7900. That's 631-615-7500. All right. So call in now. If you got a question, the doctor can answer it. All right, Doc, before the break, I talked about I have type 2 diabetes and I am borderline, which means it's in the 6.5, 6.6, 6.7 area, my A1C all the time.
Oh, that's good.
And my every time I get my blood work done, it's like in the 130s. So it's not bad, but it's not good.
Right.
So, and here was the weird thing. So when it first came up, they couldn't, it was like, okay, diet and exercise, and I work out and I take care of myself as best I can. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. There's times where I got to stop at McDonald's or whatever because I'm running and, that's the quickest way to feed myself. But like they put me on metformin, which is a very common drug.
Nope, not anymore.
And, well, here's the thing. My A1C didn't go down. My blood sugar didn't go down.
Well, metformin is not the drug of choice anymore.
Well, no, and so it was, and what was happening after a while was it was affecting my kidneys. So then I had to take something else in addition to the metformin because my kidneys weren't functioning right. And then one day I was like, I just never felt right. So I said, that's it, I'm done. And I took myself off it. And guess what? My A1C is still the same. And, I recently went to the doctor again, and then now the doctor's like, okay, well, we got this new medicine that's got, just came out and it's got some good results. And then I do research and it says biggest thing that it causes is liver cancer. Yeah. And I'm like,
so what do you suggest?
So unfortunately, I mean, another great thing about herbal medicine, you asked me how we figure out to do this. There's clinical documentation of what herbal medicine does for literally thousands of years. These drugs, obviously there's miracle drugs. I mean, if somebody needs insulin, I'm not going to tell them, hey, come on and just take some herbs instead, right? But the problem is with these new drugs that we don't have it time tested, long-term effects. And yes, they do have side effects. So for most people, well, for everybody's long-term, but it varies a little bit. But absolutely, diet has got to be the foundation. You don't want to be doing just a bunch of herbal medicine and not have a good diet. And all I would say is a basic thing is a low carbohydrate diet. Okay, you can eat whatever you want once in a while. You can eat McDonald's once in a while. Just have a really good diet most of the time, and that means a low carb diet and probably avoiding white foods. What are white foods? White bread, pasta, anything that's like wheat. Possibly gluten is having a negative effect. A lot of people are having inflammatory effects from gluten that they're not even aware of, and they get off gluten, like people with pain syndromes, whatnot. So refined wheat flour is bad. Okay, that includes pasta. People maybe don't realize. I mean, there is pasta made out of things other than wheat, but pasta is just it's kind of like empty calories. It's just going to spike blood sugar. And then there's herbal medicine. So there's lots of different things. So the ginsengs can help you. They are called adaptogens, which means they help to rebalance the body in various ways, both the immune system and the endocrine system, including adrenal function, which can be related, and also pancreatic function. And I just happen to have here, I don't know how well you can see it, this is cinnamon bark. Okay, so it's not good enough just to take your cinnamon. Not good enough just to take the stuff from the supermarket. The best stuff comes from either Ceylon, which is Sri Lanka, or Vietnam. And also there's Chinese cinnamon bark. This would just be one component of a complex herbal formula.
Okay, so hold on.
You would make it, yeah, I would give it, okay, a couple things. I would give this to you in a granular powder as part of a formula where you just take a few spoons, stir it in water, and drink it, and do that twice a day.
Okay, so because I take cinnamon pills, right?
Oh, really?
And yeah.
I'd like to know, who's making them, what they are exactly. See if we could get you something maybe better.
Okay, and Doc, you and I are going to consult, so don't worry. I'm going to be going on this because I do take cinnamon pills. That's something I started when I got off the metformin and all that other stuff.
Yep, that's good.
And the doctor even said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because, I'm not fluctuating. And all my other blood work comes back great. My cholesterol's great. Everything is great, So, it's all of those things that I'm sitting here going, I'm trying, but it doesn't seem like or is it just my body? That's just the way it functions.
No, you're on the right path. You've got the right idea. Just you need a little bit more of a comprehensive, not a little bit more. You need a much more major comprehensive approach, which would be a very multifaceted herbal medicine formula and sticking to your diet.
All right. So Brittany out in Washington, she's got a couple of questions for you, and I don't even know how to say this word.
I do.
Okay.
Well, first of all, let me just explain to you, Doc, that Brittany has Crohn's disease.
Right.
And she has PSC. And she's being evaluated for what's called POTS. I don't know what that is. But she says that she has I have an
ileostomy,
right, and have severe absorption issues. What form of medications do you suggest? And there are some other questions. I'll let you deal with that one first.
You're starting off with the easy ones, huh? So
You're the man.
We don't mess around, Doc.
this is a very, dramatic situation. It's going to be an autoimmune condition, which absolutely of my teachers. See, I still train to get smarter in Western medicine. My mentors are MDs, and gluten and autoimmune disease. No. You got to get off the gluten. The rest of it, I mean, I would put together a complex. I mean, a complex meaning more than 2 or 3 herbs, herbal formula, and work with diet. I can't say too much more on the air briefly because that's a very complex situation. Just off the top of my head, there's an autoimmune condition, and you got to stay off of gluten.
Brittany, you're watching. I know you're listening there with your mom. See the phone number? All right, write that phone number down. It's down to us. In addition to the question, see if you want to, if you have anything more. But she's also on disability, and she can't afford the naturopathic medicine, which can cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Any suggestion regarding
where do we know where she's located?
Washington, the state of?
Well, there's a naturopathic medical school out there, John Bastyr University, Bastyr. They would probably have a student clinic, and I would say go to the student clinic. I'm not a naturopathic doctor, ND, but by genre of what I do naturopathic medicine. But there are naturopathic medical schools, just like there's acupuncture schools, there's chiropractic schools, and so they have student clinics, and that would be that's in Seattle. I don't know if they have satellite clinics, but that would be the way to go because it'd be.
Good. So we appreciate that. Now I want to ask you another question, because you're going to have the answers to this. We watch TV. Darren was just mentioning about commercials that are on and yada, yada, yada. There's one commercial for a memory substance. I call it a substance, pill, powder. I don't know what it really is. I did a little looking up on it, and they kill it. I'm not going to mention the name of it, but they kill it. But
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Who kills what?
Online, people have been very unfriendly to this particular
negative reviews.
Okay, I got. Yeah.
Okay, but there are a couple of people that are not actors that say that they've taken it for a number of years, 8 years, 11 years, and it's terrific and wonderful. It has to do with older people like myself,
sure.
All right, that have maybe some memory problems. Yep. So I'm facing a little bit of that now, and I don't want it to get worse.
More than a little.
Well, after tonight, it's not going to be.
What's that?
Oh, yes, more than a little.
I said more than a little.
He's my biggest fan.
Yeah. Okay, you guys. Okay. Drop the tag team thing. Let me speak, will you, please?
Well, that's part of our shtick, Doug. You pay for that.
So, I've heard of a supplement on the radio lately. I know of another one which I'm not taking because I have other things to worry about, so I'm not taking it. That I think there's some validity to it. I don't know what that one is. So a couple things, again, diet, and there's things to take, there could be different reasons for memory being affected. And one of them could be atherosclerosis, right? The plaque on the blood vessels. Mm-hmm. And so for many of us in my family, there's a cardiac history. I do not have any, cardiac history, but I'm taking an herb called hawthorn. And that is known to help with blood pressure, and it helps to lower cholesterol. And it's relatively mild, but a good idea to take it. Also, can be even regulating arrhythmic things with the heart. Also, you can take something like ginkgo. Now, ginkgo would be more like something that you might take for an immediate kind of thing. I don't know about research talking about it so much for the more profound effects of memory. But definitely something people use. I guess people like to study, and I take this. I took a couple of these before I came on tonight. I haven't forgotten my name yet, so seemingly it's doing okay. There's also an herb called, I just happen to have these with me, Gotu Kola, which comes from India, and it helps with the health of blood vessels and is also known to positively affect the mind and memory.
Okay, so Gotu Kola, hawthorn herb, and even ginkgo. You're saying that because I have a history of heart issues in my family. So far, knock wood, I'm good. But I have 4 brothers. 3 of them, or actually 2 of them, have already had stents put in and things like that.
Got cousin too.
Yeah, my cousin had a quintuple bypass and all this other stuff, but he's had two. So my thing is if that you're instead of taking the blood thinners that they would normally prescribe,
Sure.
these are the things you would take.
Correct.
And these are all natural. It's not like
They're all herbs.
it's all herbs. It's not things that are going to have side effects of.
Absolutely correct.
And it will do the same thing that the normal blood thinners would do, right?
Does not do the same thing that blood thinners do. It operates under different physiological pathways, which are safer.
Okay.
Would be my impulse. I'm not going to tell somebody not to take a blood thinner if their doctor determines that they should be on a blood thinner.
Right.
But we're talking about several different layers of the issue. We're talking about blood, memory and blood thinners and cardiovascular and cardiac events and whatnot. But so there are things you can do. And then there's also Chinese herbal formulas, which are not so simple for me to say, it's a little easier on this program for me to say a couple, individual supplements. But really when patients come to me, it's a lot more, again, a sophisticated, complex thing where I'm going to put together an herbal formula.
Now, my doctor, I was on metformin as well. My doctor told me immediately get off it. He prescribed it. And after some more research, get off it. And then he recommended, I believe it's called Gelbride or something like that. Gelbride, whatever. And it's working. It's okay. It's not doing anything wonderful. If I took some of the natural substances that you said, can I still take the pill or should I check with him or you first? And do I get off that pill? Do I stay?
No, typically there's a possibility of conflict, but typically it's not a problem. Unfortunately, neither he nor I know much about the particular interactions, but like when I say like taking hawthorn, that's basically a food. I mean, they've been using it like to make wine in Europe for centuries and centuries. People just drink it like an aperitif, and it's just been known to be like a heart tonic. So in general, the herbs are more food-like. So it's not a problem. I don't have people worrying about it. It used to be there were concerns you can't take any herbs if you're on Coumadin, and now that's being adjusted again by MD cardiologists. I'm not the one that's saying like, oh no, don't worry about it. So we have caution, but typically you don't have to make that choice.
Gotcha.
Okay, but could these herbs help you get off those medicines?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's always my concern is that you get on these things and then again, my experience with metformin, it like just caused more and more problems. I don't want to have to take something that's going to make me sicker.
Right.
Because that's the way I felt. I felt like it was making me sicker. It wasn't helping me. It was hurting me. And I don't want to do that. And the concern in this day and age, it's probably better that these drug companies are now required to tell us all the problems because
except they don't know all the problems.
Right. 40 years ago, they never told you, right? They just said, okay, just take this. And then you took it and you didn't know what the side effects were.
Right. But even now, in best science, they just haven't had time to really know the side effects. So that's an issue. So again, we're not, people of my profession, we're not anti-pharmaceutical. Sometimes you need it. But again, for chronic issues, you got to take a look at and see. The first thing is to try to get the job done with natural medicine, which I'm doing mainly through my telemedicine practice. And again, some people come to the office. I wanted to show a couple things to give people a concrete idea of what herbal medicine looks like.
Sure.
Is that okay? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Sure, absolutely.
So when I started out, I trained with a Chinese doctor in New Mexico for 5 years. Then I went to China, and he prescribed herbs for me, and I was cooking my Chinese herbs, and it's like a big old bundle of herbs. It's not like a tea bag, and you do 2 days. You boil 2 days at a time, and I did that about 95% of my days for 5 years. So the herbs look like this. This is licorice root, but it comes from a very thick taproot. So the Chinese have a really cool way of they steam and slice and preserve them, then they ship them over, and they're very well preserved. Especially the roots can be really quite powerful. The licorice root is good for the digestive system. It has some antiviral properties. It's in most of the Chinese herbal formulas. I also have an herb here. This is called Corydalis. You can't see too well. This herb has pain relieving effects about 1% as strong as opium, as morphine. So it's not like if you need a morphine drug after surgery, you're going to take this instead. But you come to me with chronic back pain. If I include this in a formula, and it's safe, it's not like a druggy drug kind of substance. Take the edge off while your body has time to recuperate and recover. I also have an herb here. This is an herb, like the word immortal. In New Mexico, it's called Immortal. The Spanish called it. This has a substance in it somewhat similar to digitalis, where my teacher taught us out in New Mexico back in the 80s that if this had grown in the Northeast, because most of the herbs that were developed as drugs were in the Northeast of America and in Europe, in the Western Europe, that because this has a cardiac glycoside that strengthens the heart, it's called Immortal, that this would have been developed or either made into a drug like digitalis, if it was only grown, if it only occurred in the eastern United States. This, just real quick, is just ginseng. This is a really great form or quality of ginseng root. This came from Chinatown. I didn't dig this one up. And there's one last one. This is an herb that I picked out in Albuquerque in 1983 when I was in herb school. We'd go wildcrafting, picking our herbs. It's called.
And you still have it?
Pardon me?
And you still have it?
Yeah, I have it kind of sooner. I buy liquid extracts. I have a little bit of a museum kind of thing of my herbs, but this herb is still, herbs get old. You don't want them sitting around for a long time, but this has been preserved in the dark in a jar. This still has medicinal potency. But so this is a really great herb for mouth issues and digestive issues. And so I dug this out myself.
Dr. Chris, do you mix these yourself? Do you grind them and put them
No,
together?
so what I do, so these are Chinese herbs. Instead of having to cook up the raw herb, these are concentrates. So I have a bunch of formulas, and then I have individual herbs. So I will modify this by adding in individual herbs to the formula. And I hand it to you, and all you got to do is take a few spoons twice a day, and boom, you're there, and you have a very strong, effective, non-toxic herbal treatment. Then I also have herb pills. These are two different versions of an herb called of a form with bupleurum, which is an herb for the liver. It can also help with blood sugar. That's used in lots and lots of formulas. We call it harmonizing the liver. It detoxifies the liver and calms the nervous system. And this is an herb with antiviral herbs. We weren't saying that you just take this with COVID, but there are herbs in here that in China, when the Chinese doctors were having success treating COVID, some of those herbs are right in here.
So if I decided, okay, and I have, because last year I really cut out a lot of my carbs and a lot of the breads and things like that we were talking about. And I actually lost 30 pounds. Okay. Because I cut those things out and I, really got strict on my diet and my exercise regimen and stuff like that. What you're saying is that instead of taking a vitamins, like all these vitamins that people, say, okay, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy 10 different vitamins and take them every day, that these herbal supplements will actually take the place of all of that, because you're going to be getting the nutrients that you need that you would get from just taking a vitamin off the shelf.
Well, it's kind of like fruits and vegetables, okay? Right. I take vitamins. I'm not saying that you don't take herbs instead of vitamins. Just the vitamins are kind of a basic kind of level, but they're not as dynamic to strengthen and manipulate our physiological functions as herbs are. So I take my vitamin B, I take individual vitamins because I take really high quality, but you can get a decent quality multivitamin. And there's scientific research that shows that our soil has lost up to 80% of its nutrients over the last 50 or 80 years or whatever. So I think it's a good idea to take vitamins. I don't make my patients take vitamins. I discuss it with them. Vitamin D is a really big deal. It was one of the main factors found in the whole COVID situation. So it's not instead of vitamins, but the vitamins are just kind of a basic thing, and the herbs are much more powerful in actually treating diseases as far as a medical practice.
Okay.
You are a world of, freaking knowledge. I mean, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you tonight.
Well, it's a tremendous way. So, Doc, if somebody like Brittany wants to get a hold of you and get more information, how could they do that?
So again, on my web.
Sorry, I hit the wrong one.
Okay.
Go ahead, Doc.
I didn't see a hook coming yet.
It's on its way.
OlympusCenter.com. Olympus, like Mount Olympus, like the Olympics, but olympuscenter.com. is the easiest. And right on the homepage is a place, send us a message. The email itself is Dr. Trahan at Olympus-Center. And the phone number is 212-337-0511. It's typically best to reach me by email first, but it's okay for people to just pick up the phone and call me.
All right. So Doc, do you do any speaking engagements? Do you get out there and talk about what you do? And
well, I'm not currently. I've taught at numerous acupuncture medical schools. When I was in Asia, I was a clinic supervisor. I was a clinic supervisor at the original opening of one of the major acupuncture schools in New York. I used to have my own educational institute where I would teach like an 8-week course. I'm not currently doing that, because of the pandemic and whatnot, and with the internet and whatnot. But I'm, spreading the gospel. Like I said, doing a lot of my telemedicine with people locally, and also I have a patient in Washington State and in Oregon.
So you are treating people all over the country.
Correct. Yeah, most of the time people are finding me in the tri-state area, but yeah, I have people from all over.
Yeah, see, I was first, you mentioned Albuquerque before. I was first introduced to acupuncture. I lived in Rio Rancho for a year, right? So, and actually my office was right next to an acupuncturist. And it just happened, I became friends with him, and I had a headache, really bad headache one day. And I just walked over and said, I got a really bad headache. I didn't have any aspirins in my office. Is there anything you can do? And he just put me on a table and put 5 needles in my head, and it was gone. The headache was just completely gone.
Yeah, they're gone, all right.
And it was, but that was my first experience.
It wasn't side effects of acupuncture, Norman.
No, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you don't know him. He probably sticks needles in his head when he goes home.
But I'm a big proponent of acupuncture.
Yep.
I know it works. I know it's excellent in doing that. So you know what? I'm going to be calling you, Doc.
And I will be calling you as well because
I really
you're the man for what I'm looking for.
I need to find something that's going to help me. And based on our conversations, I think you're the man that can help me do that.
Well, things are challenging in this day and age, but I am here. And, I take my original training from Asia and then in New Mexico, where I was training Western herbs and picking the herbs myself, and then got into Chinese herbs. And ever since I've been to New York since '89, really focusing also on the Western medicine end and really merging for the best of all possible worlds.
So, Doc, we want to thank you for being on the show.
Great job.
Great job tonight.
Great job.
Thank you very much. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, it was good to see you. Hang out.
Hang in there. Don't hang up.
Yeah, don't hang up yet. Just stick there for a minute. We're going to say goodnight to everybody, and then we'll
be right back to you.
But thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
All right. What a great
You just
show.
cut him off.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Doc.
He was going to tell you that you almost did a good job.
I almost did a good job. You
missed it. By the way, I don't know if everyone noticed that we're wearing USA T-shirts. We'll say it again. This is our July 4th.
These are our July 4th show, right? So this is
much nicer shirt than we had a bunch of years ago. Hey,
USA all the way.
Oh, Air Force.
Air Force. Absolutely. As we know.
Right, so that's
big
good.
Part of my life. So we want to, hey, everybody, next week we'll be right back here. Same time.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Don't miss out. All right. And be safe. Fireworks are still going off. Stay away from them.
Did you hear about the National Hockey League goalie?
Yeah, the goalie he's
dead.
He was in a hot tub, and all of a sudden they had a problem, and he had to get out of the hot tub and fell, hit his head, and he got killed. Because of fireworks.
Firework went into his chest or something.
Yeah. So it's just a terrible tragedy.
People don't listen. They don't get it.
So just be safe. Don't be stupid.
On that note.
Have
a great weekend. Have a great week. And we'll see you next Tuesday night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.